Hey everybody, it's Tony here with a review of Mozart's Nozze di Figaro with conductor Antonello Morocorda, who made his Metropolitan Opera House debut, which I heard 2 weeks ago as part of the Metropolitan Opera House's free live audio streams. Aside from Maestro Manacorda making his Metropolitan Opera House debut, there was also the young French mezzo-soprano Gaëlle Arquette, who made her debut there at that very opera house as Cherubino. But before I get to her performance, I would like to talk about the other singers, starting off with Adam Plachetka as the Count Almaviva. While I did enjoy the quality of his voice, in which it had sufficient virility and a lot of emotion and passion to play off of so well, there were times that there was a little bit of that thinness, and I would have loved to have his voice a whole lot richer and less in the mask and more in the pharynx. One evidence of that was his rendition of Ay ya vinta la causa. I thought that he was able to give sufficient passion to that particular aria, as well as some flair, but he was kind of missing in terms of a lot more depth, a lot more richness, and a lot more of that virile quality that I love in many a baritone. I'm pretty sure that once he focuses all of his voice in the pharynx, keeps on developing those chest tones and make them as rich, round, and strong as possible, he will be a lot better in future performances. As he was decent, and he was able to give his all, which was alright in the long run. His Countess Almaviva was Susanna Phillips. This also marked her role debut, and while I thought that she maintained her absolutely fine and lovely tone, especially considering the repertoire she would specialize in with roles like Pamina, Lucia de Lammermoor, and even Fiordiligi, just to name a few, I felt like she was missing that richness that I love in many a full lyric soprano. If you know me, you would automatically know that I have some favorite Contessa Almavivas, such as Auliki Rautavara, Elisabeth Grimm, Eleanor Steber, and Victoria de los Angeles. Oh, and lest I forget about Montserrat Caballé. And even Sina Yurinats, who was also very well known for singing Cherubino. Those were full lyric soprano voices which had sufficient richness and an absolutely gorgeous feminine timbre that I associate with Contessa Almaviva. As Susanna Phillips was as Contessa Almaviva, she was alright. She continued to possess such a lovely tone, and she brought in sufficient youth to this character. However, she did struggle in the final moments of Dove Sono, where she ended up being rather shrill on her final high note, and I felt like there was not so much support that she could play off of, which was kind of a shame because she has a naturally lovely instrument. It's just that I felt like she was kind of out of her depth in a role as stately, grand, and absolutely noble as the Countess Almaviva. But I still have to give her credit for what she was able to accomplish as a singer, as she was able to pick herself up rather well in the final act. So even though I was not a huge fan of her in this particular role because of how I prefer fuller lyric sopranos singing the Countess, I still have to give my hat off to her for what she was able to accomplish. Could it have been a lot better? Yes, but the effort that she managed to put in was actually quite solid all the way through. Luca Pisaroni was decent at best as Figaro. Yes, he did sing this role for many, many years, and he was able to characterize Figaro in all of his joviality and sparkiness, which he managed to do very well over the radio. But there were times that he gave into some crooning, and there were times that a certain richness in his voice was lacking. And I have in my ears a lot of the great Figaros of the past. Those include the likes of Nicola Rossi-Lemony and Cesare Siepi, just to name a few. So even though he did lack in richness, I thought he managed to compensate with charisma, which was not an easy thing for him to do, but he was just alright at best. I could still tell that he enjoyed portraying this role, which he managed to do, but as I stated before, there are better singers who could accomplish this role far better than Luca Pisaroni could. Nadine Sierra may have had some moments where she was quite decent as Susana, but there were times that I think to myself that she could be a whole lot better, and especially considering that every time I hear her voice, I hear more of a lyric soprano wanting to emerge rather than a soprano specializing in all of these light parts. Some of the issues I have with Nadine Sierra are her nasal vowels and some unsupported, uncoordinated chest tones, especially in the first act where she had this duet with Figaro. But at least she managed to get a whole lot better in her Rose aria, Devieni non tardar, in which she was able to pull off some rather decent chest tones. I figured that if Nadine Sierra were to get rid of those nasal vowels and get rid of the mask singing and even keep supporting her chest tones a lot more, as well as find a lot more core strength in her voice, I'm pretty sure that she could be able to sing the more lyrical roles of, let's say, Mimi from Bohème, Micaela from Carmen, Melisande, Rachel from La Juive, and even Desdemona from Otello, because I do feel that there is a full lyric soprano hiding inside Nadine Sierra's voice, which has been wanting to come out for quite some time. It's just that she needs to iron out her technique a lot more so that she could be able to reach better heights and even improve herself as a singer. So here's hoping that she will be able to fix a lot of those problem spots. And here's also hoping that her career would end up taking a very interesting direction rather than singing all of those light roles that she has been specializing in for the past few years. Gael Arquez, who made her Metropolitan Opera House debut as Cherubino, was absolutely fine all the way around. Sure, her performance could have actually benefited a lot more with a lot more chest tone usage and even digging into those chest tones to make everything come alive. But what she was able to accomplish was that she was able to give Cherubino a lot of charm, youthfulness, and a bit of that suave quality. If there are a couple of mezzos I could highly recommend to Gael Arquez for her to listen to, I would highly recommend the likes of Giulietta Signonato and Agnes Balza, because those two mezzos, who also specialized as Cherubino, had very coordinated chest tones as well as extremely focused and absolutely wonderful voices full of passion and full of flair. So here's hoping that Gael Arquez will continue to develop in the right way and not give in to bad habits such as mask singing or uncoordinated chest tones, because this is a mezzo who has a lot of potential to keep on growing, and I do not want to see nor hear her talent being put to waste. Meigui Zhang shows promise, elegance, and loveliness as Barbarina, and from what I heard in her voice, she is a lyric soprano on the rise. I would love to see and hear this fine young lyric soprano take on bigger, more leading lady roles, because she does have pretty good material, she does have loads of promise, and she is on the cusp of a nice international career. So I do have to salute Meigui Zhang for all of her efforts that she was able to accomplish as Barbarina, and here's also hoping that she tackles the leading lady roles, which will end up being a part of her repertoire and I do hope that she will continue to go from strength to strength. Even though Brinley Sherritt's voice was kind of past its prime as Dr. Bartolo, he was able to display some virility as well as some gruff charm to make this character come alive, which was not an easy thing for him to do on the radio. He was able to sound quite masculine, as he's always been as a basso cantante, and he was able to combine virility with a fine sense of comedy, which he managed to do rather well. His partner and eventual wife, Marcellina, was the veteran dramatic mezzo Elizabeth Bishop, who has been very well known in the likes of Fricka, The Second Norn, Waltraute, Brangena, Amneris, and many other great roles for a dramatic mezzo. I've also been following her career for quite some time, but hearing her as Marcellina, there were times I noticed that she was kind of past her prime, because there were times that some of the tones did sound a little bit unsupported, and even though there was a semblance of some fullness to be found, there were times I thought to myself that she was kind of past her prime. But despite all that, she was able to be quite a fine comic actress in this role, and she was able to play off of this character rather well with just how much fun she was able to have embodying Marcellina. Paul Corona was a virile, handsome Antonio who was able to make a great use of his bass baritone voice. Giuseppe Filianotti stole the show as Don Basilio, considering that he has been very well known in the likes of Hoffmann, Rodolfo from La Boheme, and many other great roles for a full lyric tenor, and here he was playing a character part, and I thought that his tone and his lyricism made him stand out rather well, and Tony Stevenson was a characterful Don Curzio. So overall, the singing may have been a bit hit or miss, but I still have to give it to them for at least putting in some effort to embody their characters. The hugest kudos I could give is to Giuseppe Filianotti, who is able to embody the role of Don Basilio with his trademark lyric tenor voice, and I could definitely tell that he put in a lot of hard work to make that character part come to life. And the conducting accomplished by Antonello Manacorda was really solid. There were times that I felt like the orchestra could use a little bit more pizzazz, but other than that, he was able to lead the chorus and orchestra of the Metropolitan Opera House rather well, and of course, the chorus and orchestra of the Met were absolutely great all the way through. So, with a fine Metropolitan Opera House debut from the likes of Antonello Manacorda and Gael Arquez, as well as Giuseppe Filianotti stealing the show as Don Basilio, Mozart's Nozze di Figaro, broadcast 2 weeks ago, was actually okay at best. There could have been a lot better singers for the main roles, especially with the likes of Figaro, Susanna, Conte Almaviva, and Contessa Almaviva, but in spite of the gripes I had with those aforementioned singers, I still have to say that at least it was a team effort that made it quite strong in its own merit. And for those of you who listened to this particular broadcast of Mozart's Nozze di Figaro live from the Metropolitan Opera House, what'd you think of it? Do you feel that the likes of Adam Plachetka, Susanna Phillips, Luca Pisaroni, and Nadine Sierra could be a whole lot better in terms of their talents as singers? Do you feel that Giuseppe Filianotti stole the show as Don Basilio? Or did you also feel that there was one of the singers who didn't really hold up so well? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in for another review. So until then, have a great day, everybody.